Well, thank you very much. In any profession, there are special and talented individuals that rise to the top in their organizations. Politics, where one person becomes the president, just as we witnessed last week. Business, where one person becomes the CEO or board of directors. Sports, where one person is selected as the most valuable player on a team. And I could go on and on. But our military is not like any other profession. Our military is unique. It has always been comprised of men and women from across the country who are willing to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, so that we and many others around the world can live a life of choice and not chance. I had the opportunity to visit the beaches in Normandy, France a few years ago, and I still remember the images. It was a cold, misty day. The mulberries were vivid as the waves crashed upon them. The windswept beach was isolated. It was an eerie feeling. I tried to imagine what must have been going through the minds of those brave military men as they stormed the beaches under intense direct fire from the shore. As I looked around, I saw a monument. On it a quote from Winston Churchill. Etched in granite, the inscription read, "I would rather die on my feet than live on my knees." Hundreds on that day died to ensure others can live in freedom. So good afternoon to all of you, and thank you so much for asking me to speak on this wonderful, gorgeous Virginia Day. A special day for all our veterans. Don Riley, thank you very much for that introduction, and thanks for volunteering to be the MC for this event. And it's great to see another comrade in arms here with us today. I want to thank the Loudoun County Naval Junior ROTC program for providing the color guard, and of course we just heard the American Originals Fife and Drum Corps for their superb performance. Let's give them another round of applause, please. Thank you very much. Senator Herring, Delegates May and Minshew, thank you for being here today, showing your continued support for our veterans. Supervisor Buena, Mayor Umstadt, thank you as well for your nonstop support of this annual event and the Marshall Center. I have to recognize Mr. Rory Clark, and I want to thank you, sir, for your leadership and the opportunities that you continue to provide to showcase this incredible historic location and facility. Colonel Ruscioli, thank you for your tremendous work you do for our veterans and the VFW, not only for today, but for every day. Sir, thank you very much. Let's give him a round of applause. Go ahead, guys. And then, of course, our speaker before me, Miss Gail Reed. Thank you, ma'am, for leading, for being one of the pioneers, really, in our armed forces. I would venture to say, little did you know back in the day, as a WASP, that you would be a pioneer for the women in our military. Today, our military has been blessed to have women wear the rank from private to general. General Ann Dunwoody was the first female to earn the 4-star rank, and so Miss Reed, thank you very much for making her such a success. I had an opportunity to meet Miss Pat Daly a few minutes ago, the Executive Director of the Marshall Center. I want to thank her so much as well for her tireless efforts to ensure this center continues to preserve and advance General Marshall's legacy of peace through international cooperation. Thank you, ma'am. And then I have to also recognize Janet Vandervaart. Thank you so much for helping put this event together. Your personal efforts were critical, I'm sure, for the success, and it is a wonderful event. So Janet, wherever you are, thank you very much. Today, your military is a global force, capable to reach anywhere in the world. Our military can and will accomplish any mission it is given, from a humanitarian mission to combat operations if required. As we sit here today, in our Army alone, we have over 80,000 soldiers deployed, with 60,000 in Afghanistan, and thousands of others deployed in places like Kuwait, Kosovo, the Sinai Peninsula, and the Horn of Africa. There are also 92,000 soldiers forward stationed in nearly 160 nations around the world. On September 11, 2001, 19 al-Qaeda terrorists struck at the Pentagon, the World Trade Center, and in a failed attempt to attack our capital. They sought to topple the world's mightiest symbols of military power, economic prosperity, and democracy. And while those blows were tragic, and they hurt, they did not cripple the far-reaching capabilities or the effectiveness of our military, or our financial institutions, or our government. We are entering the 12th consecutive year of war with Iraq and Afghanistan. Many in our military have earned medals for bravery and courage, just as those brave men did on the beaches of Normandy. All of our military deployed, and those in garrisons worldwide pledged to do their best to live lives worthy of the sacrifices that have been made by our veterans everywhere. Today we pause for a few moments to pay tribute to our American veterans, our wonderful veterans who served this nation with distinction, who served when called to duty, who served not by asking why, but by asking, where do I sign up? And by saying, send me. Let me lead the way. Follow me. Who are these men and women who serve our great country? Where do they come from? Why do they do what they do? Our veterans are remarkable patriots. They come from the United States and countries around the globe, from big cities to small villages, from all religions, all ethnic backgrounds, all cultures. They are soldiers, they are sailors, they're airmen, they're Marines, and they're Coast Guardsmen. They serve from private to general, from pilot to grunt, from nurse to submariner, all who seek to serve something larger than self, all fighting for our freedom and to protect our way of life, so that we can continue to hold freedom's flame high in every city and town in the United States of America. All veterans who served in our military know the meaning of the words sacrifice, freedom, duty, honor, integrity, personal courage, loyalty, respect, country. Here in Leesburg, Virginia, at this wonderful and historic facility, the Marshall Center, there is no doubt we understand that freedom comes with a hefty price tag. And all of our veterans everywhere, and I know you will agree, understand that price better than anyone. in all of our conflicts we have faced, there are a group of heroes, known to many of us as our fallen comrades. We must never, ever forget to pay tribute to those veterans as well. Those veterans who never returned to their unit, who never returned to the ship, or fight line, or foxhole, who never returned to their friends, and who never returned to their families and loved ones in the United States. It is because of our veterans, past and present, that America's military remains the envy of all nations around the world. America's military and America, quite frankly, have been tested during these last years of combat, 12 years almost of combat. And our military has never asked if they're ready to go. Never. Because we know our country expects them to be ready. It is our government who makes the policy, but it's our military and veterans that enforce that policy. And it's because of our veterans that the military has never failed on the field of battle. During my last few years in uniform, I've been asked a number of times if our efforts in Afghanistan and Iraq are worth the thousands of lives that were lost and the tens of thousands that have been seriously wounded and injured. I can only answer that question this way. The Chief of Staff of our Army made it mandatory for a general officer to represent him and our Army at every funeral, regardless of location, for those that were killed in action in Iraq and Afghanistan. I had the honor to attend 16 of those funerals where I represented the Chief of Staff of the Army, and I know Don did the same. And I remember each and every one of them. And at each and every one of them, the mother, or the father, or the wife, or the sister, or brother would come up to me and say, "General, thank you." I was totally taken off guard at first. I thought to myself, "You are thanking me? You have just lost your husband, or your son, or daughter." So I asked them why. And they told me, "General, thank you for letting my son or daughter, whatever the case may be, die doing what they love to do." For those that gave the ultimate sacrifice and for their families, I have to say, it was and it is worth it. So you see, our veterans, you veterans, are very, very special. And your performance from World War II to today validates in a quiet, professional way that our military remains the mightiest military in the world. Second place, by the way, is not even close. That our military continues to stand guard around the world to protect our freedom and the freedom of other nations. That our military still has the strength and the character to stand up for what the American people believe to be right, and to back up those words, if required, with action. Our military still believes the mind, the soul, and the heart, and the spirit is everything. Our military still is willing to lay it all on the line to pay the ultimate sacrifice, if required, in the defense of our country. Our military stands ready today, just as our veterans have stood ready in the past, at a moment's notice to go anywhere, anytime, fight and win. Each and every day, Americans and others around the globe should give thanks to the American veteran. Their legacy of valor, their heroics they displayed in far-off lands, their quiet and unselfish attitude and compassion for all, regardless of race, color, religion, and nationality. Without our veterans, our flag might be an empty symbol. Our ideas of freedom could be just another hollow concept. Without our veterans' grit and determination, our way of life as we know it today could be drastically different. How can we thank all veterans for their personal sacrifice? And even a larger question, how can we thank their families? The fact of the matter is we cannot. We cannot thank them enough, nor can we thank their family enough. So it comes down to this. One day out of 365. A day of thanks. A ceremony. A parade. Color guards. Band. Some displays. Some handshakes. A couple pictures. Veterans talking about how it was in their outfit in Europe, in the Pacific, in Korea, in Vietnam, Grenada, Panama, in the deserts of Iraq, or the mountains of Afghanistan, or other places far from America, far from home, far from Leesburg, Virginia. All of them wishing and thinking they could have done more. More for that fallen comrade that never made it back to their families. More for that grunt on the right or left flank. More from that Marine that led the charge and never came back to his foxhole. More for that sailor who stood watch on the darkest nights as the ship cruised to the Pacific. More for that airman who spent hours and hours on the flight line to ensure the plane was ready to go for that next mission. More for that Coast Guardsman who worked diligently around the clock to save lives in the toughest of circumstances in some of the most challenging, difficult situations. And yes, more for the families left back home. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but tonight, all of us can rest under a blanket of security provided in large measure by the American veteran. To all of you and to all of your families, you can be ever proud of your service to our nation, because we, America, is forever proud of you. Thank you very much for letting me say a few words at this special ceremony today, honoring our American veterans. And I want to thank all of you for your continued support of America's military. May God bless you. May God bless our military. May God bless our veterans. And may God continue to bless the greatest nation in the world, the United States of America. Thank you very much.